Hello, what's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your location. It's your boy, the Crackhead, wishing you all a happy weekend and Shabbat Shalom. Today, I am traveling to an Arab village in the Negev, and I hope you will like the beautiful landscape on this route. Traveling to the Negev by bus from Tel Aviv is a common and affordable option, though it typically requires at least one transfer depending on your final destination within the vast Negev region. The primary hub for the entire region is Beersheba, which serves as the central point for connecting bus routes. The Negev is a desert and semi-desert region of southern Israel. The region's largest city is Beersheba in the north. At its southern end is the Gulf of Aqaba and the resort city and port of Eilat. It contains several towns including Dimona, Arad, and Mitzpe Ramon, as well as a number of Bedouin towns including Rahat, Tel Sheva, and Lakia. There are also several kibbutzim, including Revivim and Sde Boker, the latter becoming the home of the first Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, after his retirement from politics. Although historically part of a separate region known during the Roman period as Arabia Petraea, the Negev was added to the proposed area of mandatory Palestine, of which large part later became Israel on 10 July 1922, having been conceded by British Representative St. John Philby in Transjordan's name. Despite this, the region remained exclusively Arab until 1946, in response to the British Morrison-Grady Plan, which would have allotted the area to an Arab state. The Jewish Agency enacted the 11 points in the Negev Plan to begin Jewish settlement in the area. A year later, the United Nations Partition Plan for Palestine allotted a larger part of the area to the Jewish state, which became Israel. The desert is home to the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, whose faculties include the Jacob Blustein Institutes for Desert Research and the Albert Katz International School for Desert Studies, both located on the Midreshet Ben-Gurion campus adjacent to Sde Boker. In October 2012, global travel guide publisher Lonely Planet rated the Negev second on a list of the world's top 10 regional travel destinations for 2013, noting its current transformation through development. Today, my exploration is taking me to an Arab village of Darajat, where I will have to connect and hop on many buses to get there. This is just the beginning of my trip, which later became difficult, confusing, and more difficult as I journeyed. The Negev contains the oldest continuously exposed surface discovered on Earth, with an approximate age of 1.8 million years. During the Pleistocene, the Negev fluctuated between intervals of relative humidity and intervals of aridity, similar to or even more severe than the present day, from around 80,000 to 13,000 years BP, during a time interval roughly corresponding to the last glacial period. The Negev was significantly more humid than today. It covers more than half of Israel, over some 13,000 square kilometers, or at least 55% of the country's land area. It forms an inverted triangle shape whose western side is contiguous with the desert of the Sinai Peninsula, and whose eastern border is the Araba Valley. The Negev has a number of interesting cultural and geological features. Among the latter are three enormous, crater-like Makteshim box canyons which are unique to the region: Maktesh Remon, Hamaktesh Hagadol, and Hamaktesh Hakatan. The Negev is a rocky desert. It is a melange of brown, rocky, dusty mountains interspersed by wadis, which are dry riverbeds with plants that flower briefly after rain, and deep craters. It can be split into 5 different ecological regions: northern, western, and central Negev, the high plateau, and the Araba Valley. The northern Negev or Mediterranean zone receives 300 millimeters of rain annually and has fairly fertile soil. The western Negev receives 250 millimeters of rain per year with light and partially sandy soil. Sand dunes can reach heights of up to 30 meters here. Home to the city of Beersheba, the central Negev has an annual precipitation of 200 millimeters and is characterized by impervious soil known as loess, allowing minimum penetration of water with greater soil erosion and water runoff. The high plateau area of Negev Mountains, Ramat HaNegev, stands between 370 meters and 520 meters above sea level, with extreme temperatures in summer and winter. The area receives 100 millimeters of rain per year, with inferior and partially salty soil. The Araba Valley along the Jordanian border stretches 180 kilometers from Eilat in the south to the tip of the Dead Sea in the north. The Araba Valley is very arid with barely 50 millimeters of rain annually. It has inferior soil in which little can grow without irrigation and special soil additives. Vegetation in the Negev is sparse, but certain trees and plants thrive here. The dome palm tree can be found in the southern Negev. The Ivrona Nature Reserve is the most northerly point in the world where this palm can be found. A small population of Arabian leopards, an endangered animal in the Arabian Peninsula, has survived in the southern Negev but is now probably extinct. Other carnivora found in the Negev are the caracal, the striped hyena, the Arabian wolf, the golden jackal, and the marbled polecat. The Arabian gazelle survives with a few individuals in the Negev. The Dorcas gazelle is more numerous with some 1,000 to 1,500 individuals in the Negev. Some 350 to 500 Nubian ibex live in the Negev highlands and in the Eilat mountains. Nomadic life in the Negev dates back at least 4,000 years and perhaps as much as 7,000 years. The first urbanized settlements were established by a combination of Canaanite, Amalekite, Amorite, Nabatean, and Edomite groups, 2000 BCE. Pharaonic Egypt is credited with introducing copper mining and smelting in both the Negev and the Sinai between 1400 and 1300 BC. According to Israeli archaeologists, in the Hebrew Bible, the term Negev only relates to the northern, semi-arid part of what we call Negev today. Of this, the Arad Beersheba Valley, which receives enough rain to permit agriculture, and therefore sedentary occupation, is accordingly defined as the eastern biblical Negev. According to the book of Genesis chapter 13, Abraham lived for a while in the Negev after being banished from Egypt. During the Exodus journey to the Promised Land, Moses sent 12 scouts into the Negev to access the land and population. Later, the northern part of biblical Negev was inhabited by the tribe of Judah and the southern part of biblical Negev by the tribe of Simeon. The Negev was later part of the Kingdom of Solomon in its entirety all the way to the Red Sea, and then with varied extension to the south, part of the Kingdom of Judah. In the 9th century BC, development and expansion of mining in both the Negev and Edom coincided with the rise of the Assyrian Empire. Beersheba was the region's capital and a center for trade in the 8th century BCE. Small settlements of Israelites in the areas around the capital existed between 1020 and 928 BCE. A massive increase in grape production in the northwestern Negev for the requirements of the wine industry was noted for the early 6th century, documented by studying ancient refuse mounds at Shifta, Elusa and Nesana. There is a sharp peak in the presence of grape pips and broken Gaza jars, used to export wine and other Levantine goods from the port of Gaza. After a slower increase during the 4th and 5th centuries and followed in the mid-6th century by a sudden decrease. The disappearance of the wine industry from the semi-arid northern Negev shows that it was technically possible to sustain it over centuries, but that the grape monoculture was economically unsustainable in the long run due to its dependence on empire-wide trading networks, which required stability and prosperity over a vast territory. The story and history of Negev is a very long one. After much difficulty in my journey, I finally arrived at the Arab village of Darijat. Please wait for it in upcoming videos. Also, kindly show us love by subscribing, following and sharing this video. We would very much appreciate it. Thanks very much and God bless you.